John Carter, the 2012 massive box office bomb, is a famous book turned movie that follows John Carter, a captain in the late 1800s, as he is projected and shot over to Mars, or Barsoom, and is trapped in a large civil war with the cultures on Mars. Pop Top, this was your choice. What did you think of John Carter?
If you look on any list of box office bombs for the last, I don't know, few decades, this is always number one. This was a Disney realm into IP from the Burroughs Barsoom series, which are like early 19th century. I think it had potential when they launched it. They were going to like make a bunch of movies out of it.
You would see for yourself the virtue of our cause.
Everyone thinks their cause is virtuous.
It stars a wonderful actor, Taylor Kitsch. I love almost everything he's in.
This ball belongs to you. Please, take it.
The movie, I've never seen it before. I never watched it when it came out because I for some reason it just didn't hit me. And when I was watching this movie, I was like, well, this has a lot of themes of modern day movies, and this is probably why I didn't do well. Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is modern day movies all were based off of this piece of IP, including Star Wars.
Yeah. That's impossible!
I don't know, Dances with Wolves / Avatar / I don't know. There's just a bunch of things in here, and I want to really like this movie, but there was about 10 times I looked at the time on it, and I'm like, is this a 4-hour movie?
Yeah. This is Disney's apex failure. It was... it's considered the worst marketing campaign of all time. It ballooned up to, there's reports anywhere from minimum $250 to $350 million. It was a massive failure. It basically sort of ruined the director's career, which is Andrew Stanton, who directed Wall-E and Finding Nemo. This was his directorial debut, and he wanted this massive trilogy, and Disney gave him the keys to everything. They said, here's all the money you want. And without a doubt, there's a lot of money on screen at all times. There's insane costumes. The set production is intense. The CGI is all over the place. There's a ton of different settings and alien creatures and all that.
Just to get an idea, there are 5 warring factions in this movie. Mm-hmm. The Tharks, which are the four-armed aliens that he ends up becoming part of their tribe. Right. The Helamites, which are the good guys. The Zudangans, which are the bad guys. And they're on like a moving city, like from Mortal, whatever, that other
Mortal
movie.
Engine, yeah.
Therns, which are mysterious alien race that's kind of controlling.
Yeah, they're like interdimensional beings or something.
Yeah, behind the scenes.
We will follow the course we have set, Earthman. And we've chosen Sabda to rule next.
And then there's a brief scene with the Warhoons, which were like, they're more like Tharks, but without personality or some shit. Yeah. I don't know. And there's some great voiceover acting too. I didn't realize that you had William Dafoe was the chief of the Tharks, and Thomas Hayden Church was the other guy. And
her mother kept her egg in Solis, the last flicker of her ancient greatness.
You can't just stand here and let her be killed.
There is a lot of James Purfoy, Bryan Cranston.
Just so I can kick it all day.
You said the CGI is all over the place, but for 2012, this was great.
No,
stuff.
I didn't think it was bad. It was there was a lot of it. There was substantial.
The Tharks are all
but
CGI.
The thing that made me happy was there was a good mix of both practical and CGI. There's this massive sort of air space battle where you get to see John Carter go into action and. And there's some great use of CGI with practical, and it looks pretty cool. It's not bad. It's not bad to look at.
No, the fight scene when they're in the Coliseum against the so-called white apes, I thought that was really cool. I mean, there's a lot to like about this movie. This is supposed to be one in a trilogy because there is, I think, like 5 books from the Barsoom series. No, there's 11.
Jeez.
11 books.
I think that he was onto something really substantial thematically. And I think that there are shining moments that still ring out a century later.
And so they were really kind of hoping to tap into that, and it did not do well. I mean, for not for the lack of Disney trying. Disney really marketed the shit out of this.
Yeah. Taylor Kitsch, he's coming off Friday Night Lights. He was Gambit in the horrible X-Men Origins movie. So they were really trying to kind of pump start his career. And I really enjoy him in this movie. Yeah, he's kind of almost borderline stoic white action man.
This is real. And so is my cave of gold.
But I really enjoyed his character, and the surprising thing about John Carter, especially coming from Disney, is it gets pretty dark. He ends up losing his wife and daughter, and there's a scene where, he's just, I'm going to go back and defend you guys. And he just loses his effing mind, and he's playing through in his head him burying them, and it's a very, very dark scene.
He has a pile of
and him. Stanton was really smart, and I'm sure maybe Disney pushed this or whatever, but everybody besides John Carter obviously bleeds blue, and that was a good way of getting around the rating. The movie still had a PG-13 rating, and they were able to show a lot of gore for, a Disney movie, but it's all alien stuff, so they were able to get away with it.
The science for the time, though, based off the IP, is really pretty interesting, though, because it's not, as you find out in the movie, it's not him that is transported to Mars. Yeah. It is a copy of him.
It's a projection or something.
His original body is still laying in this cave wherever, right. And when he wakes up, the Union colonel he was with is like skull and bones. And his body's been laying there all this time, and I was like, "Wow, that's a cool thing."
Yeah, so watching, especially the first 3 or 4 scenes, it definitely feels like they're trying to do Star Wars mixed with Pirates of the Caribbean and like an Indiana Jones feeling. You kind of get this like caper adventure, like he's going through like the streets of London, and then you get this whole desert feeling. And the music is wonderful. Michael Giacchino did it, who did the Star Trek movies and all that. There's a lot of names attached to this from Star Trek, actually. You got Michael Chabon, who did a lot of stuff with Picard. I think he was a showrunner for season 1. And then the cinematographer actually did 2009 Star Trek and Into Darkness. So those are kind of interesting too.
That's another piece that probably pulled from this is Stargate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A Stargate feel to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I think part of the thing I didn't really care for was the way the narrative was set up. It was a little, I don't want to say confusing, but it was a little convoluted. The beginning was set up kind of odd, and then you're told that he died, but he really didn't die, and then he ends up conquering the day, and you're like, oh, the movie's over, but then he gets zapped back to Earth, and you're like, wait a minute, there's still 15 minutes left of the movie? And then you had to explain everything that happened in the beginning that I had forgotten.
Right.
And I was like, wait, what?
And I did the same thing. There's an odd beginning. He's going through the city of New York, I think, and he has some guy following him, John Carter. And the next scene is the fictional version of Edgar Burroughs, and he's just found out he inherited his uncle's money.
At the end of which term, the principal will revert to him in full.
And he's dead. And then it goes back to him being, he's a gold miner, and he's getting recruited by the Union because he's a former Confederate captain. And I don't know, that I agree. That first 20 minutes, I was like, okay, so the timeline's not really that great. And then once you get on Mars, it's pretty good.
The first item is beans.
The plot, the bad guy plot, it's whatever.
If you insist.
He's just kind of like, I just want to be the leader, and it kind of falls flat. It's just not that interesting.
Well, and that's another thing kind of hurts the film, is because like the Tharks, they're kind of brutal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at one point, the girl Thark that's protecting John Carter, she gets like whipped, and you find out later on that she's the chief's daughter.
Yeah.
The bad guy was not really, I mean, he was kind of like a puppet of the main bad guys.
To truly demoralize a nation requires a public spectacle on the grandest scale. Staging this wedding will ensure your rule goes unchallenged.
That's again where it feels dated, is you've seen that so many times. So as usual on Lost and Found, Lost, you leave it to the streaming black hole and you completely forget about it and watch one of 89 million other things out there. For Found, you go enjoy it on a nice weekend like we did. Pop Tot, where are we putting John Carter?
If you was to put me to the mat, I would say find it.
Yeah.
If you've never seen this movie before, it's on Disney Plus. It's right there. I was actually surprised that Disney has it on there, considering this is one of their greatest failures.
Go outside, nerd.
But I would say find it. It was engaging. It was entertaining. I'm a little bit of a fan of Taylor Kitsch and all the movies he's been in. The people that put this movie together did a lot of good work to put it together.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of sad that it is on the list where it's at. But yeah, I would say if you've not seen it before, or if maybe you haven't seen it since 2012, find it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think at times it might feel its length a little bit, but it's clear that they were trying to make this epic franchise. And there's moments that really I jaw dropped. You know, there's a moment when he's fighting the Coliseum and the rival Thark, I think is what they're called. He cuts his head off. And I was like, holy shit. Oh my God. Like, I just never would have thought.
That was quick.
Yeah, too. It was quick. It was very reminiscent of Taye Diggs' death in Equilibrium. But yeah, no, Taylor Kitsch, he's awesome. I always love watching and supporting his stuff. Movies like this is where you kind of lean back over to the studio and say, this is unfortunately why studios get involved. Is Stanton had a pile of money and nobody told him no, even so much so that he even said that, and he just kept throwing money at it. And unfortunately, that's not how movies work. You gotta have great ideas and be smart with how you market and all that. And this movie is a lesson learned in all the wrong reasons, but it's still very entertaining. I really enjoyed it, and I don't think you can go wrong enjoying it on a weekend afternoon watch. So, as usual, be sure to leave us your comments and recommendations for future movies. It's always helpful. There's so many, and, you know, sometimes we can forget them, or we just haven't seen it, like John Carter. So, let us know, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Beans. The first item is beans.